Let's continue comparing the Hebrew Masoretic with the Greek Septuagint by going through the New Testament and seeing which manuscript family the writers used when quoting from the Old Testament. We will be looking at Luke chapters 1 to 6. The running count of verses will continue from the last video. Luke 1:17 is when the angel Gabriel is speaking to Zechariah about his future son John. It reads, "And he shall go before his face in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children." This is a quotation from Malachi 4:5 and 6. The Masoretic reads, "I will send you Elijah the prophet before the great and terrible day of Jehovah come, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers." The Septuagint reads, "I will send you Elijah the Tishbite before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes, who shall turn again the heart of the father to the son, and the heart of a man to his neighbor." When these readings speak of Elijah, all of them are different. The Masoretic calls him Elijah the prophet. The Septuagint calls him Elijah the Tishbite, which is the full name of Elijah the prophet in 3 Kings 17. Gabriel simply refers to him as Elijah, having the spirit and power. It appears that Gabriel is not quoting from Malachi 4:5. But the next part is a quotation from Malachi 4:6. The Septuagint has child, singular, while Luke and the Masoretic have children, plural. Because of these things, Gabriel is following the Masoretic. Luke 1:50 is part of Mary's song. It reads, "His mercy is unto generations and generations on them that fear him." This is a quotation from Psalm 103:17 in the Masoretic. It reads, "The loving kindness of Jehovah is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him." This is a quotation from Psalm 102:17 in the Septuagint. It reads, "The mercy of the Lord is from generation to generation upon them that fear him." Even though Brenton has translated the word generation, the Greek word should have been translated as age or everlasting. So in this case, by saying everlasting, the Septuagint and Masoretic agree. Interestingly, Mary said a different word, generations. While Mary certainly has this verse in Psalms in mind, she is loosely quoting it. In Mary's song, it doesn't look like it is her intention to precisely quote from the Old Testament. For example, Mary does this a few times in her song. In Luke 1:76, she makes a very strong reference to Malachi 3:1, but does not quote it. And in Luke 1:78, she makes a very strong reference to Isaiah 9 verse 2, but does not quote it either. In this case, all the readings agree, with the exception where Mary says generations. Because there is no difference between the Masoretic and the Septuagint, the verse will be counted as following both. Luke 2:23 is about when Mary and Joseph brought the infant Jesus to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord as the firstborn and to make an offering on behalf of the mother. It reads, "As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord." This is a reference to Exodus 13 verse 2. The Masoretic reads, "Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Israel." The Septuagint reads, "Sanctify to me every firstborn, first produced, opening every womb among the children of Israel." When Luke says, "as it is written," he is not wrong. What Luke says is true to this verse. In fact, the same thing is said in Exodus 13:12 and 13:15. But Luke is not quoting these verses. When Luke says, "as it is written," Luke is not talking about the exact words written in Exodus 13, but about the command written in Exodus 13. Because the purpose of this video is to analyze quotations, this verse will not be counted. Luke 2:24 is what Mary and Joseph offered to God on behalf of the mother, Mary. It reads, "Offer a sacrifice according to that which is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons." This is a quotation from Leviticus 12:8. The Masoretic reads, "In her means suffice not for a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons." The Septuagint reads, "If she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons." The only difference is the word before turtle doves. Luke says pair, while the Masoretic and the Septuagint say 2. This is the only difference, and it is minor. Luke is following both. Luke 2:52 is about how Jesus grew up. It reads, "Jesus advanced in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and men." This is a quotation from 1 Samuel 2:26 and how Samuel grew in the Lord in contrast to Eli's sons. The Masoretic reads, "The child Samuel grew on and increased in favor both with Jehovah and also with men." The Septuagint reads, "The child Samuel advanced and was in favor with God and with men." Luke adds, "wisdom and stature." Other than that, all readings agree. Luke is following both. Luke 3:4-6 is about John's ministry, which fulfills Isaiah's prophecy. It reads, "As it is written in the book of the words of Isaiah the prophet, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make you ready the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be brought low, and the crooked shall become straight, and the rough way smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God." This is a quotation from Isaiah 40:3-5. The Masoretic reads, "The voice of one that cries, prepare you in the wilderness the way of Jehovah, make level in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the uneven shall be made level, and the rough places a plain. And the glory of Jehovah shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together." The Septuagint reads, "The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare you the way of the Lord, make straight the paths of our God. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be brought low, and all the crooked ways shall become straight, and the rough places plains. And the glory of the Lord shall appear, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God." There are a number of differences here. First, Luke and the Septuagint say that the voice will be in the wilderness. The Masoretic says that the way will be made in the wilderness. Second, Luke and the Septuagint tell the people to make straight paths. The Masoretic says to make a highway in the desert. Third, the Septuagint and the Masoretic speak that the glory of God will be revealed. Luke skips that phrase, probably intentionally. Lastly, Luke and the Septuagint say that all flesh will see the salvation of God. The Masoretic says all flesh will see it together. Across these 3 verses, Luke is following the Septuagint. Luke 4:4 is when Jesus responds to the devil's temptation on turning stones to bread. It reads, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone." This is a quotation from Deuteronomy 8:3. The Masoretic reads, "Man does not live by bread only, but by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of Jehovah." The Septuagint reads, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God." This was previously addressed in another video and is found in Matthew 4:4. Just like in Matthew, Jesus is following both. Luke 4:8 is Jesus' response to the devil's next temptation, offering Jesus all the kingdoms of the world. It reads, "It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." This is a quotation from Deuteronomy 6:13. The Masoretic reads, "You shall fear Jehovah your God, and him shall you serve." The Septuagint reads, "You will fear the Lord your God, and him only will you serve." This was previously addressed in another video and is found in Matthew 4:10. Just like in Matthew, Jesus is following both. Luke 4:10-11 is when the devil quotes scripture about how God will protect the Christ. It reads, "For it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning you, to guard you. And, on their hands they shall bear you up, lest you happen to dash your foot against a stone. This is a quotation from Psalm 91, 11 and 12, in the Masoretic. It reads, He will give his angels charge over you. They shall bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. This is a quotation from Psalm 90, 11 and 12, in the Septuagint. It reads, He shall give his angels charge concerning you. They shall bear you up on their hands, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. One difference is that Luke adds, to guard you, which is not found in the Masoretic nor the Septuagint. This was previously addressed in another video and is found in Matthew 4:6. Just like in Matthew, Luke and the Septuagint say happen, and the Masoretic leaves that out. Luke is following the Septuagint. Luke 4:12 is about Jesus' response to the devil's last temptation, questioning whether Jesus really is the Son of God. It reads, It is said, You shall not make trial of the Lord your God. This is a quotation from Deuteronomy 6:16. The Masoretic reads, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. The Septuagint reads, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. This was previously addressed in another video and is found in Matthew 4:6. Just like in Matthew, Luke is following both. Luke 4:18 and 19 is when Jesus reads from Isaiah in the Nazareth synagogue. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives, and recovery of sight to the blind, and set at liberty them that are bruised, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. This is a quotation from Isaiah 61, 1 and 2. The Masoretic reads, The Spirit of Jehovah is upon me, because Jehovah has anointed me to preach good tidings to the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. The Septuagint reads, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me. He has sent me to preach glad tidings to the poor, to heal the broken in heart, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and recovery of sight to the blind, to declare the acceptable year of the Lord. One difference is that Luke and the Septuagint say that Jesus will preach to the poor. The Masoretic says the meek. Another difference is that Luke uses broken or bruised, but the Masoretic says bound. The rest of this verse is an interesting case study in this whole study. We see how Luke includes recovery of sight to the blind, which is missing from the Masoretic, but is found in the Septuagint. Yet Luke includes setting the broken free, which is missing from the Septuagint, but is found in the Masoretic, though the Masoretic uses a different word, bound. Even though the mention of setting the broken free is not found in Isaiah 61, these exact words are found about 3 chapters before in Isaiah 58, verse 6. Again, this is very interesting. Here are a couple possibilities. First, when Jesus read from the scroll of Isaiah, he might have taken the phrase about setting the broken free from chapter 58 and inserted it into this list from chapter 61. Again, in the Greek, these are the exact same words. Second, when Jesus read from the scroll of Isaiah at chapter 61, both phrases were found there. That is, the Masoretic's missing phrase of giving sight to the blind, and the Septuagint's missing phrase of setting the broken free. Both of these phrases appeared in Jesus' copy of Isaiah. Regardless of whether one of these possibilities are true or there is something else going on, the interesting thing here is that, by comparing these passages, both the Masoretic and the Septuagint contain God's words. Every phrase that Jesus says from Isaiah is a prophecy about what Jesus does as the Christ. For the Septuagint to have recovery of sight to the blind, while the Masoretic does not, and for the Masoretic to have set free the broken, while the Septuagint does not, Jesus shows us that both contain God's words. It is like Jesus was aware of these differences in Isaiah 61, so Jesus used both manuscript families. As we proceed through this video series, we will see that the New Testament authors favor the Septuagint far more than the Masoretic. But let this verse be a reminder that we should not completely throw out the Masoretic. Both have value. Both are the Old Testament. Therefore, I would like to repeat the purpose of this video series. When we see differences between the Septuagint and Masoretic, we can use the New Testament quotations to discover which reading is more accurate. Sometimes the Masoretic will be more accurate. Often, the Septuagint will be more accurate. Thanks to New Testament quotations from the Old Testament, we can see the Old Testament more accurately. Back to Luke 4:18 and 19, let's revisit the differences. First, Luke and the Septuagint agree that Jesus will preach to the poor, which is not found in the Masoretic. Second, Luke and the Masoretic have different words for broken and bound. Third, Luke and the Septuagint say recovery of sight to the blind, which is missing from the Masoretic. Fourth, even though Luke and the Masoretic agree about Jesus setting free the broken, the Septuagint has this phrase 3 chapters earlier. For these reasons, Luke is following the Septuagint more than he follows the Masoretic. That is enough for now. We will continue looking at New Testament quotations from the Old Testament in the next video. Blessings and so forth.